In this lesson, we're going to look more at the equations of lines. So our last lesson, we started talking about slopes. We had different types of slope, positive, negative, zero, undefined. We looked at graphing some lines. We looked at making equations from the graphs. We learned about a new formula called the slope formula. Well, we're going to take those ideas and extend our knowledge about equations of lines. Okay, so let's get warmed up with slope. So from yesterday, do you remember the equation for slope? Hopefully something like, maybe you want to pause it and try it yourself before I tell you, but y2 minus y1 and x2 minus x1. So in our case, we have some x's and some y's, some x's and some y's. I'm going to call this number 2 and this number 1, which makes mine negative 3 is my y2, 6 is my y1. I got to match up, make sure I have the first thing from the same point. Okay, be careful on the bottom. You have your minus sign and your negative 5. You should end up with negative 9 over positive 3, which if we can reduce, we will. Remember, this is just dividing. So how about negative 3 for a slope? Okay, just a reminder of yesterday's lesson. Okay, we also did some of this yesterday. Can you find me the equation of the line? Well, we can do that by looking at it and counting. Two things that we need in slope-intercept form, you need your intercept and your slope. If we look at the first one here, and we're trying to find these things, well, the intercept's really easy to find. It's right there at 1, 2, 3, and it's a positive. To find our slope, we talked about yesterday working from left to right with points that we absolutely positively know. So we know the 3, because technically it's 0 and 3. And if I look along the line, I think I know this one too. If I really wanted to, I could write down its coordinates because I can count. 1, 2, 3, oh, it's whatever it is, 3, 4. So that's a nice point. Working from left to right, I have to go up 1 and over 1, 2, 3. There's my equation of my line. You guys try the other one. Y equals something, x, and something. The b is the easiest part to figure out because it's right there at minus 1. And my slope, well, I can tell what that is. I have to go down 1, 2, 3, and over 1. Down 3 makes it negative, over 1. If you can, please, for me, write this as just a whole number because it's actually easier than a fraction. And, oops, not plus, minus. One. Okay. Equations of lines. Graphs were nice. Unfortunately, we don't always have a graph. Sometimes we have some information. So the first way we're going to look at today, something new, is if you have slope and a point. Well, if you have slope and a point, you have actually all the information you need except the y-intercept. But we can solve for the y-intercept using our point. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to go through the steps, and we're going to fill in the first one in together here. Here's example A. So question A says, find the equation of the line given a slope of negative 2 and passing through this point. Step 1 tells us, fill in what you know. Well, we know the slope right off the bat. So y equals m, here's my m, x, and b. I don't know what b is yet, so I'm going to leave it as b. Step 2 says, substitute a known point, an x and a y. Hey, there's a point. It's made up of x's and y's. I can plug them in for x's and y's. Y is 5, x is negative 3. Be careful to remind yourself these are multiplying when they're stuck together, so put it in brackets, and b. Step 3 says solve. We're going to do a little bit of algebra here. Let's get rid of our brackets. Negative 2 times negative 3 makes positive 6, plus b. I want to know what b is, so I have to get rid of this 6. Whatever I do to one side, do to the other. So 5 minus 6 is b. How about negative 1 is b? And step 4, rewrite the equation. It's like our therefore. Y equals m. Well, we knew what that was. It was where we started, right? Negative 2x. And b, we just figured out, was minus 1. And there you go. Okay, pause. Try this one yourself. Exact same steps, exact same ideas, different numbers. So y equals m, x, and b. I'm going to plug in a point that I know, 0 for y, 4 for x, solve for b. Get rid of your brackets, multiply. Numbers on one side, letters on the other, so bring that 12 over, or think to yourself minus 12, so minus 12. And b should be negative 12, making my equation y equals 3x and minus 12. Okay, please don't write as plus minus 12, just minus 12. It's just one sign. Okay, so far so good, I hope. Let's try the next stage. What happens if we get fractions? Well, there's nothing wrong with fractions. We just have to remember how to operate with fractions. The processes themselves don't change. So we're going to do the exact same thing. Y equals mx and b. We're going to plug in our point exactly the same way. Negative 2, 1/4 times negative 5, and b. No differences here. We're going to get rid of our brackets. But here's where you have to think a little bit. How do I multiply fractions? 1/4 times, technically, negative 5 over 1. Well, fractions are nice because you just go straight across. 1 times negative 5, 4 times 1. Look at that. That was an easy one. Okay, before we had to put numbers on one side, letters on the other. Let's do that. Let's bring the 5/4 over here by adding it. It was subtracting. Okay, now we got some fraction work to do. We're just adding fractions though. How do we add fractions? A common denominator. I've got a 1 and a 4. Well, I can make those both into 4s. This one's already good to go. Times that by 4 to make it 4, so times that by 4 to make it 4. And there's an equal but different version of negative 2. Okay, add them up. Negative 8/4 plus 5/4 makes negative 3/4. Okay, the bottom part doesn't change, denominator. Okay, write our equation. Y equals mx and b. There's our equation. Okay, again, you guys are going to try one. Same idea. Negative 2/5 is our slope this time. Pause it, try it. Y equals mx, oops, mx. M is 2/5, x and b. The negative sign, you can move it around. It's portable. Top, bottom, or in front. You decide. I'm going to put it on the top. Okay, my x is 7, which I know is technically over 1 to save myself some future angst. I know I'm going to multiply straight across. I know I'm going to bring it over. I know I need a common denominator. It's technically over 1, so I'm going to times it by 5, so I'm going to times it by 5. 5/5 is the same as 1, just a different version of it. And I'm going to add those numbers up, and I'll get 19/5 for b, giving me an equation of y equals mx and b. There's our equation. Hopefully you guys got the same answer. Okay, we got one more little idea here. What if I change the situation just slightly and don't give you 1 point in the slope, but give you 2 points? Well, we can still find the line, because if we have 2 points, it makes a line. We just have to calculate the slope first, and we know how to do that already. So same steps as before. If you actually look at this, steps 2, 3, 4, 5, I just copy and pasted them from before, but I added in step 1. I said find the slope first, and we know how to do that already. Let's try one just to make sure. Find the equation of a line given that it passes through these 2 points. Well, I've got a bunch of points, x's and y's, but I have no slope. So job 1 is find my slope. So y number 2 minus y number 1 over x number 2 minus x number 1. I'm going to make this easier. I'm going to make that easier if I can. Well, 4 divided by 4, negative 4 is negative 1. And now it's basically as if I start this question all over again. Same idea. I can write down that y equals m, x, and b. I can solve for b if I know an x and a y. Good news, I know 2 pairs. This one or this one. Pick one or the other. Does not make a difference which one. Just don't mix and match. Like, don't pull the 5 from one and the 8 from the other. That doesn't work. I use 4 for y and 5 for x. I'm going to solve this. Negative 1 times 5 is negative 5. Numbers on one side, letters on the other. So I move that 5 to the other side by adding it. That gets me b is 9, or in other words, y equals mx and b. Done. Okay, guess what time it is? It's your turn to try. Okay, you're going to pause, you're going to try yourself. If you got the hang of this, you're probably good to go. You don't need to do all of them. But if you aren't, the more we practice it, the easier it's going to get, I promise. Okay, let's start off with slope. Y number 2 minus y number 1. X number 2 minus x number 1. Be careful with that sign, right? There's a negative and a minus sign. That gives me negative 10 over 5. I think that's negative 2. So I know y equals m, x, and b. I'm going to pick a point. I like this one. It's got smaller numbers. So 0 for y and negative 3 for x. Just be careful with my signs. Get rid of my brackets. 2 times 3 is 6, and 2 negatives make a positive. I got to bring that 6 to the other side by subtracting it. I think b should be negative 6. So my equation is y equals negative 2x minus 6. How'd you do? If you got perfect, fantastic. If you didn't, can you see your mistake? Either way, can you do the next one for me and try and get better or faster at it? Because this one we're going to use it repeatedly throughout the next couple of years of math. Okay, same procedures. Slope 1 minus negative 5. 6 minus negative 2. That gives me 6/8. Ooh, I got a fraction. Can't divide it perfectly, but I can reduce it. And it's okay to do fractions. We just did one a few minutes ago. Y equals m, x, and b. Which point's nicer this time? I'm going to use 6 and 1 because it's all of their positives. So 1 for y. 3/4 times 6 for x. I'll put the 1 there to remind me because I'm going to multiply in just a second. I just go straight across and I get 18 over 4 on the bottom. Okay, numbers on one side, letters on the other. I need to make a common denominator, so 4/4 minus 18/4. These are actually pretty easy to make common denominators, just multiply by the other number, right? 4 minus 18 is negative 14/4. I can reduce that. I can divide them both by 2. So how about negative 7/2 for b? Oh, I got an extra equal sign in there. Let's get rid of that guy. Okay, what's my equation this time? Y equals m. M we said was 3/4, and x and b was negative 7/2. And it's okay that your fractions are actually different denominators. That's not the end of the world, not a big deal at all. Okay, just in case, one last one in case you didn't get that one right. Yeah, I think that's our last thing for today, right? Yep, last thing for today. Okay, give this one a try. If you got it, great. You want to move on, go try the sheet, go for it. If not, try this one, please. All right, our slope is negative 6 minus 7. Negative 2 minus 4. Uh-oh, this is going to be an ugly one. Negative 13 over negative 6. I can't reduce it. I can make the two negatives into a positive, but that's as nice as that gets. It's going to be an ugly one. Y equals m, x, and b. I'm going to pick this point this time because those have positives, and I like positives. Yeah, but you could use the other point if you want to. Same answer. Okay, remind myself it's got a 1 underneath it. 13 times 4 makes 52 over 6. I'm going to do 7 minus 52 over 6 is b. Ooh, common denominator of 6 this time. Times by 6, so times by 6. 6 times 7 makes 42. 42 minus 52 is negative 10. Oh, I can reduce that. I think that's negative 5/3 for b, which makes my equation y equals m. What was our m? It was 13 over 6. Need an x in there, and our b is negative 5/3. Okay, I've done it a few times. Hopefully by the end of this, fractions or whole numbers, you got the hang of it. If you're stuck, come see me. Our sheet today is going to be a practice sheet. Answers are posted. Check them out. If you're not sure about something, take a look. Get started on it. put a few in there just so we can try. The more we do, the easier it usually gets.